Hey, Teal, thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate it.
Hi, Marley. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, of course. Awesome. So I would love to start how we start out every podcast episode with a guest, and I would love for you to share a little bit about your background and what brought you to sleep consulting.
So, I have a background in elementary education and psychology, as well as educational leadership. So, the majority of my professional career has been working in a small special education independent school. I did that for 10 years and I loved it. I loved working with families. I loved supporting students at that time of all ages. But I was just kind of getting a little bit burnout. And my family ended up moving back to Maine 2 years ago. And so I left my job, of course, and in that transition, I ended up being a stay-at-home mom with my youngest for a year. And during that time, I just kind of had a bit of space to really think about what I wanted to do next professionally. But I really didn't want to return back to education, at least not full time. I wanted to explore something else, but still stay in the field of supporting families in some capacity. So I spent some time just kind of like digging deep internally and thinking about like what's really been a really transformational experience for me as a mom. And the first thing that came to mind was sleep training. And we have sleep trained both of our boys, but it was really with our first. I had never even heard of sleep training before that time. So he was born in April, the peak of the pandemic, and like my whole postpartum experience, like nothing went the way that it had planned. And I had done the classic of reading all the books and talking with mom friends and family, but really nothing had prepared me for that sleep deprivation. And it was like it was so hard. And I am so thankful to have stumbled upon a friend who went through the process of sleep training and in a matter of 2 weeks had my kiddo sleep trained and he was sleeping through the night, and it was life changing. I felt like I had kind of lost myself in that sleep deprivation stage, and it wasn't until he was sleeping and I was sleeping that I was really able to rediscover myself and live fully. So with that said, I was like, I want to give this back to other moms and others' families. Like it's an amazing experience, and postpartum is hard enough as it is, and nobody needs to A, go through it alone, and B, go through it with sleep deprivation, because there are solutions.
Mhm.
So that's what really drew me to becoming a sleep consultant.
Awesome. And I remember very clearly the conversation that we had whenever you were thinking about becoming a sleep consultant. We were talking about the program and everything like that. But my timelines always get a little bit blurred. So can you remind me when you started and like when you officially graduated? You don't have to have like specific dates,
Yeah.
but roundabout.
Yeah. I started, I think it was the beginning of March of 2024. And then I graduated in August of 2024.
Okay,
Yeah, so it took
perfect.
me about 6 months. And
Yeah.
I definitely, I felt like at the first month, I like was straight out of the gate and like did it full time all the time. And then I realized that I needed to take it a little bit more slower.
Yeah.
And, at the time I was home with my kiddo. So it just it took a little bit longer than I wanted it to take, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. Awesome. So, August. So, we are almost at a year since you graduated and started doing this as your career. So, with that being said, I would love to hear what you are most proud of so far inside your business. I know that it's still pretty early on, but yeah, what are you most proud of so far?
Yeah. So I launched in October, and I like to kind of call that a soft launch because I feel like it was terrible timing going into the holiday season. Nobody's focusing on sleeping at that time. So I really, kind of put my feet down and started doing a lot more work come January, come the new year. And I would say since then, there are two things that really stand out as kind of accomplishments. And one is some local connections that I've made. I've had some really great networking opportunities with lactation consultants, doulas, midwives, pediatricians in the area who have all just been super, super supportive and are kind of like, whatever you need, we're here for you. If you want to run a group, if you want to do a workshop, however we can support you. So I think that that has been invaluable and has felt really, really good. And then I would say Another one was just getting my first clients. So it took me a couple months. My first clients didn't come until March, but I went from 0 to 6 clients in the matter of 2 weeks. And that was just this really exciting and nerve-wracking moment all at the same time, because I finally felt like all the time and energy that I had put into the business was finally coming to fruition. So that's something that was stands out as being a highlight so far.
Yeah, that is super cool. I love the connections that you've made. And to me, that is like the best way to start your business is just getting out there and connecting with other people who are working with a similar audience and they're passionate about what they do and they're passionate therefore about what you do. And they know a lot of people and they have a lot of connections and it just kind of grows and spirals from there. And that's really cool that you found a lot of support in those individuals that you connected with. And then I would love to hear like what led to that quick explosion where you said no clients and then March all of a sudden 0 to 6. Like I'm sure that was just overwhelming and exciting, but overwhelming.
Yeah.
So how did that work out? Like what happened and what led to that?
Yeah, I can't pinpoint anything in particular, but in January I was a guest at a nursing circle, and so I had the opportunity to meet with there were probably 12 different families there. So I offered some free sleep support during that time and just kind of got to know them one on one. And then ever since I've been doing a free monthly coffee chat as a sensory based play studio, and so that's been a great opportunity to again just kind of meet face to face with people and kind of build that trust that's so important when working with somebody when it comes to sleep training, or any sleep support at all. And I think that those two in conjunction, there were opportunities for me to get my name out there, but then also to just kind of be a human and meet people where they're at, rather than behind a screen and kind of not have any sort of relationship with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. So that whole strategy or not even strategy, but like idea of going and getting in front of people and doing these coffee chats and all of that, was that something that was initially nerve-wracking for you, or was it something that probably coming from education, you maybe were comfortable with being in that type of setting, standing in front of people or sitting in front of people and talking? If you could just kind of share with me how that felt, what that looked like for you, and
Yeah.
if it was something that you felt a little bit nervous about or not.
Yeah, yeah. So public speaking is definitely an area of growth for me. So it's something that I've worked on forever and continue to work on. So I was anxious going into it for that reason, but then also just not knowing how, sleep training and sleep support overall would be received. And I felt like it went a lot better than I anticipated because it wasn't really a presentation. We were kind of sitting on the ground together. The babies and toddlers were playing. So it was very casual. It was a lot more just conversation and getting to know each other. So that felt a little bit better for me, at least getting my feet wet.
Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. That's cool that you've had those opportunities though. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's such like, even without at that point having worked with paying clients, it still is so much of like an authority building experience because you're getting to put what you learned into practice in real life and getting to keep that knowledge fresh. But then you're also able to show like, these are the different things that I've done to build my experience and put myself out there. And so that's really cool that, again, that you've had
Mhm.
that opportunity.
Yeah.
Whenever you initially enrolled in our program and you started studying and you started going through the program, what did you think at that point that you were going to need in order to be successful and in order to build momentum in your business?
Yeah, there are a couple things that come to mind. One was definitely support in starting a business from the ground up. My husband and I had owned a bar catering company before, but we bought it off of one of our friends. And so it was already established. So it was already like everything was in place, but I had no idea how to start a business from scratch. And that was one thing that I knew that I would need support with, and is one of the things that really drew me to the Cradle Coach Academy because because it is included in the program and it is such a valuable part of the program that without it, I think I probably would have been completely lost and may not even have started a business. So that is something that I thought that or kind of knew that I would need in order to build any sort of momentum. And then also like that knowledge and experience. I had never supported families in this area before. And so making sure that I felt completely comfortable and confident and competent with all of that. And again, I am so thankful for the Cradle Coach Academy because I couldn't have imagined going through a different program. Just the level of support that I received while I was a student and continue to receive as a graduate has just been incredible. So those are two things that have helped me really build momentum.
Okay, awesome. And so, what do you feel has actually contributed to your success? It sounds like you were pretty spot on with what you thought. A lot of times I'll hear from students, they're like, I thought I was going to need, 50,000 people following me on Instagram. And in reality, it was really, I just needed to make these connections with people. But
Yeah.
it sounds like you pretty much nailed it on the head, but was there anything else or anything really specific that you want to talk about that you feel has really contributed to your success?
Yeah, definitely the local connections that I spoke about. Just having that support and knowing that if I want to do something different or have an idea that I have people in the community who are there to support me. And then just overwhelming support from family and friends who have helped, spread the word and just kind of lift me up when I'm feeling down or just kind of stuck in running a business by myself. So that has been an incredibly beneficial aspect. I've also received some support with social media. My friend owns a company called Strong Brand Social, and so I worked with them at the beginning of the year to really get a better understanding of just kind of my mission and women and the families who I want to support. And that has really helped me with my social media in terms of like how to language things and who I should be reaching out to and really targeting, for lack of a better word. And then also, right now, I'm getting support from Allison Henderson with some more social media support because social media has been such a something that I never really had experience with before. And so it's been a huge shift in just the part of brain that I use. And she has been great in helping me with content prompts and getting myself in front of the camera and just holding me accountable. So those are a few things that have been really instrumental.
Awesome. Love that. So let's talk a little bit about social media because I know that, you and I had a side email conversation about this. So just to kind of fill in the audience who doesn't know what we talked about before. We talked a little bit about how social media was a little bit of a surprise for you whenever you started your business and you realized, like, oh man, I really need to know more about this and I need to know how to, best show up on social media and how to share my business on social media and all of those things. And that felt like it was really important to you or to your business for you to be able to have a successful business. So I would love if you could just share anything else about that with me, like anything else that you want to share about that aha moment for you or what led you to that realization or thought that you needed to be more involved in social media. And then also just a little bit about how you have approached social media in a way that works for you, or maybe it doesn't work for you. Maybe you're still figuring that out and trying to navigate that situation. So I know that was like a very loaded question and
Mm.
convoluted question, but just anything at this point that you want to share about social media, your thoughts on social media, what you've done, what's working well, what's not working well, all of that stuff would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So, I've always had social media myself, like Facebook, Instagram, but
Mhm.
I've always been a follower. I've never been really a poster. And more often than not, it was really just to kind of see what my friends are doing and keep in touch with them. And so really the world of like marketing in general was completely foreign to me. And I felt like it was really important for me, given that I had just moved back to Maine after living in Vermont for 15 years. In Vermont, I had such a big community and I had a lot of connections there. But now I'm living in a very small kind of rural town of Maine, and there's not a ton of connections. The closest city is Augusta, which is an hour away, and then Portland, which is an hour and a half away. So I felt like having a kind of strong social media presence, at least in the beginning, would be advantageous for getting my name out there and just letting people know that I am a local resource. So that was definitely a huge shift for me, and having to figure out how to really use social media in general and how to use it from more of a business perspective. And I'm still definitely learning how to utilize it in a way that feels good to me. I find that I'm spending so much time focused on my actual social media and less on what I really love to be doing, and that is supporting families and clients. And so I do kind of have to check myself at times and pull back and say, I don't need to post today. It's okay. Like if I miss a day or two, it's not going to like light a fire. Everything's going to be okay. And that's something that Allison S. Henderson is also helping me with, is just like it's okay to take time off. It's okay to play. It's important to play, and it's important to make sure that you're giving yourself time and space to focus on yourself, because that's really, really important. And so I've definitely learned, like, over the last few months, of how to start balancing that a little bit
Mhm.
and paying closer attention. But it's interesting because the majority of my clients I have not gotten from social media. So I'm spending a lot of time and energy into doing it. Yet majority of my clients are friends of friends, or word of mouth, or
Mhm.
people that I've met through my local connections.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm trying to think of like how I want to dig into this because
Yeah.
I think that so many of us, and I can speak for myself and for so many students who have told me this, but I think for so many of us, we have a love-hate relationship with social media. Like one day it's like, well, like that reel I made got so many eyes on it and it was really fun and I'm excited and I'm connecting with people, whatever. And then the next day it's like, I spent 3 hours making that reel and 20 people saw it. And most of those people are like my friends and my family. And it just feels like it is such a roller coaster of emotions and can be something that, just to your point that you just made, like you can feel like you're spending so much time on it and then either neglecting other parts of your business that you actually care a lot more about, or that you are spending so much time on it and then your sales are not even coming from it. So then it's like, well, what am I doing?
Hmm.
And why am I doing this? And so, my personal philosophy, and I'll just share that and then we'll go into some other things, but my
Yeah.
personal philosophy on social media is that it is something that is necessary to have because of just the world that we live in. We need to have social media because people who meet us out of nowhere are going to go search for us on social media whenever they're trying to decide if they want to work for us or not, or work with us or not. But I don't think that it's the end all be all. And I don't think that it is a necessity when it comes to like posting every day or even posting every week. I think that it's something that we need to have a decent amount of posts in the past that are like indicative of our personality and our
Hmm.
philosophies and our teaching style and all of those things, so that whenever people do find us, whether it is a post from yesterday or a post from 2 months ago, they're able to get to know us through our social media and be able to make that decision easier on whether they want to continue to get to know us and they want to maybe move forward and work with us, or
Hmm.
schedule a call to get to know us better, or whatever it might be. So, and then there's going to be those unicorns out there who will use social media and they will have a couple of reels that go viral. And then next thing they know, they have 500,000 followers and their entire business is coming from social media. And that
Hmm.
happens, but it's not the norm.
Right.
And it's not like what should be expected. And so, I think, like, just to circle back to what you're saying and your journey with social media and your journey with marketing, I would love if you could share like the past, let's say 2 to 3 clients that you've had. Where have they come from, if you can remember? And I know I'm putting you on the spot there, but
Yeah.
do you remember?
Yes, my most recent came from I initially met her at the lactation group in January, and then she came to one of my coffee chats at the play studio. And so she was my latest. And then the one before that was actually a high school friend of mine who had no idea that this was what I was doing. But she happens to work with another high school friend of mine. And my friend was just like, call Teal, like she will help you. So that was a really fun connection. But yes, to your point, neither of them have come from social media.
Yes. And again, and like that's not to bash social media. That's not to
Hmm.
say like it doesn't work. It does work. And it's a part of the puzzle. But I think where like a lot of people get it wrong, or not even wrong, but just get it kind of mixed up or get their priorities skewed, is
Hmm.
they think it is the end all be all, or they think like
Yeah.
if I'm not doing social media as my core, focus, my core priority, I'm not going to have a successful business. And 9 times out of 10, that's not true.
Hmm.
And so I think it really does come down to like using your energy in the places that are going to get you the results that you're looking for, and aligning your marketing priorities with your personality and um, what type of modality of marketing that you thrive in. So, like for me, spending an hour staring at CapCut editing a reel is going to be so draining of my energy because I just am not that person,
Hmm.
that I then like my day's ruined. Like then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I finished that. I got it posted. Like now I'm done. I'm good for the day. Like now I don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, like if I instead invest that time in like messaging back and forth with people who are thinking about becoming a sleep consultant, or hosting a live workshop where I can engage with people, or like going even to, I'm a big introvert, so this part is hard for me to do, but once I'm there, I enjoy it. But like going to a networking event,
Hmm.
I will dread it all day, every day. And then once I get there, I'm like in my zone and I love it. And I thrive off of that. And that gives me energy versus draining me of energy. And so I think that that's like the big moral of the story, is just because we think something is going to lead to success or we think something is necessary doesn't mean that it is, or doesn't mean that it's like right for us in our business.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah, and I so appreciate you saying that because I do find that I'm similar to you. Like after I spend a couple hours putting together a post and sharing it and all that, I'm spent for the day, and I just feel like it kind of sucks the energy out of me. And I would love to start shifting my energy to other places. My goal is to put together a workshop for the fall, whether it's in person or online. Like that's something that I'm aspiring to do, and I'm excited to see what traction that will take and how different it will be than social media. But then again, social media is it's so important because that's what I will promote it on. Like I'll need that
yeah,
platform for it.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then like I'm not bashing social media, not saying that it's not important. I think it is important, but I also think that it has to be something that is prioritized appropriately.
Hmm.
And so, actually, next week, I'm going to be sharing in our community, a workshop that I'm putting together on like how I personally leverage social media and how I do it in a way that doesn't take all of my energy and doesn't take so
Yeah.
much time. Like, I've gotten to the point now where I'm able to put together a reel from start to finish, including like writing the caption, writing the content, everything like that, in like 10 minutes or less, and they're doing just as well as the thing that I spent 45 minutes to an hour putting together. So more to come on that, because I
Awesome.
think that you are not alone. I think we all go through this and we all feel the same way. And again, I think there's those that are like thriving on social media and they love it. And then there are those of us who are like, I wish I didn't have to do it, but it's a necessary
Hmm.
evil. And so, like,
Yeah.
I need somebody to tell me the easiest and fastest way to check it off of my list so that I can then move on and do other things. So, yeah, so I think you are doing all of the right things. And I think that, based on what you just shared with me as far as how you got your last couple of clients, the things that you're doing are paying off. And I think that that's really cool to see. And it should feel really good to you because you know that it is paying off and you're putting your time and effort into the right places. And so even thinking more about like if you were to take some of that energy that you're currently putting into social media and shift it away into some other things, how much more could that pay off, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts on social media or on like marketing in general that you want to share or that you've had aha moments about or anything like that related to marketing?
Yeah, I am similar to you, and I'm very much an introvert. And the idea of going to a networking event is daunting because it's a lot of energy. But I secretly really enjoy them. I recently went to a Women Means Business Summit, which was about 100, female entrepreneurs from Maine. And it was just a really nice change of pace. And there was some training components and then lots of networking opportunities. So I got to meet with a lot of women who aren't necessarily in the same field as me, but they're across the state, and just having those connections is important. I've also been a vendor at a local community baby shower, which was really fun. And that was a great way to meet people. And then part of a business alliance. So I feel like I'd love to find some more ways to do more in-person marketing, because I think that they're really, really important for building that sense of community and trust. And even if it means, driving down to Portland or driving a little bit further away once a month, I think that it could be really beneficial.
Yeah, totally agree. And like you said, even though, and like I said earlier, even though I'm an introvert, you're an introvert, and it can feel really hard and nerve-wracking. Like I'm the type of person that with anything like that, all the way leading up until the moment that I have to get in my car and leave the house, I'm like, should I cancel? Should I back out? Should I just stay home? Because I just like, I don't know what it is, but I just dread those kind of things. And then I get
Yeah.
there, and as soon as I find like one person to talk to, and then another, then I'm just like I said earlier, I'm in the zone and it's fine and it goes well. And it's just like a huge part of our business growth, I think, as a business owner and as an individual, even comes in putting ourselves in those uncomfortable
Hmm.
positions, which, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do these things that I are uncomfortable or that I don't really want to do. But then it's like, after you do them, it's like, "Oh, I'm so glad I did that." Like
Yeah.
it feels good, and you feel accomplished, and you're like proud of yourself for putting yourself out there and for following through on something that you decided you were going to do. So I love that you've been able to find those different opportunities and see, how you can make it work for you. That's cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about like going again all the way back to the very beginning of your journey when you were still in
Hmm.
that mindset of, I want to do something different. What am I passionate about? What could I do that could, allow me to have the flexibility, but still be in this space of supporting families? And you came across sleep consulting, and we had that call, and all of that happened. What were you thinking at that point in time? What type of like hesitations were running through your head or concerns were running through your head whenever you were deciding whether you were going to enroll in our program?
Yeah, the first one was, well, am I even going to like it? Am I going to like being a sleep consultant? I'd never done it before. And so there was this fear of, well, what if I put all this time and energy and money into this program? And at the end, I realized that I really don't like it and it's not something I want to do. So that was something that crossed my mind. Another was, what if I can't turn this into a full-time job? That's what my hope is, but there was and there still is, like, I don't know if that's going to happen. And
Yeah.
that was kind of a scary to think about, but it's also this place, I've kind of come to this place of acceptance where it could be my full-time job someday, or it can just be something on the side that I really enjoy doing, and I'm okay with either one of those.
Yeah.
But those were probably my two biggest hesitations going into it, just kind of the unknown. And then I would also say, there's always working with families. I had this fear of, well, what if I'm not good at being a sleep
Hmm.
consultant? What if the families spend all this money and I'm supporting them and it doesn't go well? Like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want the family to have to go through that. So there was that fear of, I don't know if I'm actually going to be good at being a consultant or a coach.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And how have you, I guess, like, how do you feel about those things now? I know you answered the how you feel about the making this a full-time career, full-time business, but how do you feel about the aspect of, am I actually going to enjoy it? And then how do you feel about the aspect of, am I actually going to be good at this?
Yeah. I love doing it. I really love supporting families. I love seeing them from start to finish and just the transformation that it has on their kiddo, their whole family. And I also, I'm not as afraid of those situations anymore because I feel very confident and competent. I have support from you and the rest of the community when I need it. Uh, but I think that the clients that I have had have all been incredibly successful experiences, and that has really boosted my confidence. I had a couple toddler clients early on, and those were a little bit more challenging than working with younger infants and babies. And I'd say that was definitely my kind of the test, if you will, of whether or not I could get through it. And there were a couple of moments where I was just like, I don't think this is going to end well. But it did. It did. I really supported those families and they followed the plan as it was outlined, and we made some adjustments as we needed to. There was a 2 year old and a 7 month old, and then a 2 year old and an 8 month old. And they both went from co sleeping to sleeping independently in their room in less than 2 weeks. One, I think, was in exactly 2 weeks, but the other one was in less than 2 weeks. And it was just a really, really rewarding experience and a huge boost to my confidence.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad you've had
Yeah.
that experience. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you love it because that would be awful, right? You get into something and you're like, I went through all of this and it's awful. So I'm glad that you love it. And I
Thanks.
totally agree. Like, there's no better feeling than that success that you get at the end of working with a family where you're like so excited that you were able to help them make these big changes and have these really awesome accomplishments in their family's life and their child and all of those things. So that's super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I just had a exit call with on Monday, and she had recently moved here, so she was kind of new to the area, really didn't have a support system. Has a 7 month old, and she really struggled with postpartum and sleep. And when I met with her a few weeks ago during our initial conversation and then during our sleep plan review, she was just drained. She was just totally drained and exhausted. But then fast forward 2 weeks later when we had our exit call, she was just glowing and beaming. She had gone out to the community, she was working in her garden, and her whole just like affect had completely changed. And it was really,
Yeah.
really, really cool to see.
That is so awesome. That is
Yeah.
so cool. I remember mom telling me, and I like this one line, this was like 4 years ago, and this one line sticks out to me. And I think about it all the time. She had a 10-month old and he slept through the night for the first time ever. And she sent me a message the next morning and said, I don't know what to do with my rested self. Like she was just like, this is so crazy. She just didn't even know because she was so used to just surviving and getting through the day in whatever way she could and just
Yeah.
waiting for nighttime. And then it was like, oh my gosh, like I feel like myself again. I feel like a real person
Yeah. Yeah.
again. And it's so cool to be able to provide that and help families accomplish that.
Yeah, when you're in that sleep deprived phase, it's almost like, well, this is the normal. This is how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
This is how it's going to be. But then once you get out of it, it's like, wow, I can't believe I've been missing out on this whole time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the coolest thing ever. So, what would you say to somebody who is considering joining our program or considering becoming a sleep consultant? What would you say to them?
Yeah, really the one thing that comes to mind is to go through the Cradle Coach Academy. I really cannot recommend the program more. The level of support as a student and as a graduate has just been like paramount in building my own confidence and just getting my business off of the ground running. As a solo entrepreneur, I don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of or ask questions or check in with anybody, but the fact that we have our community where we can come to with any support we need, and we have our monthly check-ins when we need them, that has just been incredibly important for me. And I think that if anyone's considering becoming a sleep consultant, just having those resources and that level of support in your back pocket is amazing.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that we didn't get to or that we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, can you share where people can connect with you and where they can find you on Instagram or anywhere else?
Yeah, yeah. So my business is called Roots of Reverie, and so my website is www.rootsofreverie.com, and Reverie is Reverie. And then on Instagram, I'm at roots.of.reverie, and then you can find me on Facebook as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the show notes too to make things a little bit easier. But thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I know that so many people are going to listen and relate and be just excited to hear your story. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Marley. It was great to chat with you.
You too.